Let's just dive right into this, guys. We're looking at a truly fascinating true crime story, one that explains how a relatively obscure Italian painting somehow morphed into the single most famous piece of art on Earth. Welcome to this explainer. We're going to break down the incredible narrative behind a face that we all instantly recognize, but, probably don't truly understand.
Seriously, it sounds like the setup to a Hollywood heist movie, right? How exactly does a stolen, unassuming piece of wood become a literal $1 billion icon? Well, throughout this explainer, we're going to explore the historical, the scientific, and honestly, the frankly bizarre criminal secrets behind this masterpiece. Because the story of the Mona Lisa, it's so much more than just old oil paint. It is a full-blown saga of genius, obsession, and a spectacularly audacious heist.
So, Section 1. The Great Louvre Heist. To truly wrap our heads around the global fame of this painting, we've got to start at the scene of the crime. Picture this. August 21st, 1911. It's a bustling Monday morning in Paris, and the unthinkable happens. Three men who had quietly spent the entire night just hiding inside the Louvre simply walk out. They didn't have grappling hooks or high-tech gear. They literally took the painting, tucked it under a blanket, strolled right out the front door, and caught an 8:45 a.m. train. Just like that, the Mona Lisa completely vanishes from the face of the earth for 2 whole years.
Section 2. Unmasking Madame Lisa. While the world's greatest detectives were frantically searching for this stolen masterpiece, and newspapers were just printing endless, sensational headlines, let's hit pause for a second to figure out whose face was actually taken that day. Back in 1550, a biographer named Giorgio Vasari revealed the subject was Lisa Gherardini. She was a 24-year-old married to a Florence silk trader named Francesco Giocondo, and that actually gives us her 2 famous monikers. Mona Lisa comes from Madonna Lisa, which translates to Madam or Lady Lisa. And her alternative name, La Gioconda in Italian, or La Joconde in French, that comes from her married name, Giocondo, which brilliantly translates to lighthearted or cheerful. The funny thing is, for centuries, people just flat out didn't believe Vasari. Before historical archives finally proved her identity in 2004 with actual marriage records, wild theories were flying around everywhere. People thought she might be Da Vinci's mother, or maybe an Italian aristocratic queen. But the wildest one? Oh, for sure. It was in 1987. An artist named Lillian Schwartz used digital tools to promote this truly bizarre theory, claiming the painting was actually a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci in drag. No way, right?
What makes the whole theft so mind-boggling is that the painting itself is physically, unassuming. It's surprisingly tiny, only 77 by 53 centimeters. It wasn't even painted on a grand canvas, but rather on a simple piece of poplar wood, which, to be fair, was pretty common for Italian painters back then. Over the centuries, layers of varnish that were slapped on to protect it from moisture, combined with some bleaching, turned it super dull and yellowish. It was actually so yellowed that one medical professor diagnosed the subject with high cholesterol. Crazy, right? But despite looking kind of small and dull, it was a completely revolutionary half-length portrait for its time.
Which brings us to Section 3. The Science of a Smile.
Now you might be wondering how an Italian woman, painted by an Italian artist, even ended up in France to be stolen in the first place. Well, it was purchased by King Francis I in 1516. But to grasp the true value of what the French kings actually held, we have to look at the guy who made it. Da Vinci wasn't just some painter, he was the ultimate revolutionary polymath. We're talking an engineer, scientist, sculptor, architect, anatomist, optician, the whole shebang. And the kicker? He didn't separate those disciplines from his art. He literally applied all of that massive scientific brainpower directly onto that tiny piece of poplar wood.
And that brings us to his absolute technical genius, a groundbreaking technique called sfumato. It basically translates to blending or evaporating like smoke. Da Vinci blurred the outlines and blended the colors so meticulously that there are absolutely no clear boundaries anywhere. You can see it perfectly right where Mona Lisa's hair seamlessly melts into the Arno Valley landscape behind her. It creates this deeply ambiguous, almost mystical sense of depth.
But he didn't stop there. To perfect that famously enigmatic expression, Da Vinci became, obsessively dedicated to anatomy. He literally spent nights in a Florence hospital, peeling the skin off dead bodies just to study the tiny, incredibly complex muscles and nerves of the human lips. He even dissected horses just to compare their facial muscles to ours. His absolute dedication to understanding the underlying mechanics of a smile was totally unprecedented in human history. So here's where it gets really crazy. It's how that anatomical obsession collided with his study of optics. Da Vinci extensively researched how our retinas process light. He knew that the center of our retina, the fovea, sees all the fine, sharp details, while the peripheral vision picks up the shadows. Because of this, the central line of Mona Lisa's lips is actually completely flat. If you look straight at her mouth, she doesn't really look like she's smiling. But, and try this out, if you look at her eyes, or just the edges of your screen right now, your peripheral vision picks up those fumato shadows around her mouth, and suddenly she looks like she's smiling way more. He literally biologically hacked the human eye to create that mysterious expression.
Let's jump to Section 4, A Tale of Two Paintings? As if all that scientific mastery wasn't mysterious enough, there is actual evidence suggesting the painting stolen from the Louvre wasn't the only one Da Vinci painted. Back in 1504, the artist Raphael made a sketch of the Mona Lisa that featured two very distinct columns in the background. But look at the Louvre painting. Those columns are completely missing. Then, flash forward to 1914, and this piece called the Isleworth Mona Lisa is discovered. In this version, the subject is noticeably younger. Her head is tilted slightly forward, her smile is straightforward and clear, and crucially, it features those two columns Raphael sketched. This has sparked a massive, ongoing debate in the art world over whether Da Vinci actually painted two separate versions, maybe experimenting with his style on the younger version before perfecting his fumato masterpiece.
All right, moving into Section 5, The Thief Who Made Her.
So, let's circle back to that 1911 heist. We've seen the genius inside the frame, but what about the man who unknowingly transformed this quietly respected painting into a global obsession? Meet Vincenzo Peruggia. Guys, he wasn't some master criminal mastermind. He was actually just an Italian nationalist, a handyman who worked right there at the Louvre. He passionately believed that Da Vinci's work rightfully belonged in its homeland of Italy, not hanging up in some French museum. And honestly, that was his sole motivation for sleeping in the museum closet and just walking out with it.
Think about this. He held on to the single most wanted item in the entire world for 2 years, literally just hiding it in a trunk in his small Paris apartment. Eventually, Peruggia grew impatient. He traveled down to Florence and attempted to sell it to an art dealer named Giovanni Poggi. Well, Poggi immediately recognized the official Louvre stamp right there on the back of the wood. Peruggia was arrested, and get this, he received a remarkably light sentence of just 6 months in prison, while the painting was triumphantly returned to the Louvre in early 1914.
Safe to say, the museum definitely learned its lesson. Today, stealing the Mona Lisa by casually hiding it under a blanket? Absolutely impossible. It is heavily guarded behind state-of-the-art bulletproof glass in extremely strict climate-controlled conditions. The humidity is locked at exactly 50%, and the temperature is kept at a perfect 18 degrees Celsius. All of this is specifically designed to protect that fragile, aging piece of 500-year-old poplar wood from warping or cracking.
But here is the absolute ultimate twist in our explainer today. Before Vincenzo Peruggia's crime created this massive 2-year global media circus, with newspapers splashing her face on front pages everywhere, the Mona Lisa was really only known among art historians and hardcore enthusiasts. The general public? They didn't really know or care much about her at all. That brazen theft is literally what printed her face into the global consciousness.
Which leaves us with a truly fascinating question to ponder. Da Vinci poured years of unprecedented anatomical and scientific genius into literally hacking the human eye just to create a flawless masterpiece. But would the Mona Lisa actually be a $1 billion icon today, getting mobbed by millions of tourists every single year if an Italian handyman hadn't simply walked out of a museum with it tucked under his blanket? Think about that the next time you see her famous smile. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the history behind the things we take for granted.